Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Corruption in American journalism. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. The Department of Homeland Security said last week that it is very likely Russian hackers targeted Hillary Clinton's campaign manager, John Podesta. Mr. Podesta is an almost fanatical party enforcer for the Democrats. He has long been a confidant of Secretary Clinton. Talking Points believes that if the intel is correct and Russian hackers working for Putin did indeed intrude on the American election, President Obama must take action. First, he must speak directly to the American people about the evidence, and second, he must apply sanctions against the Putin government. These cyber attacks are just that, attacks. So let's get on it, Mr. President. Now for the fallout. By hacking into Podesta's email, we know, beyond any doubt, that the American press is corrupt, at least to some extent. For example, New York Times political reporter Mark Leibovich appears to have given Hillary Clinton's spokesperson, Jennifer Palmieri, editorial control over a major news story in the Times. The reporter asked Ms. Palmieri if he could use certain quotes that Hillary Clinton gave him in a private off-the-record meeting. That's against journalistic procedure. You don't write a political article okayed by a campaign. Another example, working for CNN at the time, now Democratic Chairwoman Donna Brazile, apparently fed the Clinton campaign a question that CNN was going to ask during a town hall meeting featuring Mrs. Clinton. Again, that's corruption. That should never happen. Example 3, John Harwood. He's a Washington correspondent for CNBC, and you'll remember him as a former debate moderator in the Republican primary. According to hacked emails, he was emailing Podesta, suggesting things Hillary Clinton could do to become more successful. That's outrageous. Example 4, New York Times reporter Maggie Haberman, then working at Politico, was described by the Clinton campaign in emails as, quote, a friendly journalist who teed up stories and never disappointed them. To be fair, that's hearsay. Haberman did not do what Mr. Leibovich did, directly interacting with the Clinton campaign, as far as we know. So the email might be unfair to her, although it's troubling. Also, another hearsay situation. A report today out of TMZ says that NBC had that Access Hollywood tape for months and purposely released it to damage Trump before the debate. Anonymous sources, so impossible to verify. Finally, the talk show host Steve Harvey provided Hillary Clinton's campaign with the exact question Clinton.
She's been breaking ground in her personal and professional life since she was a kid. So let's go back to when you were just a kid.
Oh boy. Oh my goodness.
You wanted to be an astronaut.
I did.
Mrs. Clinton knew exactly that was coming, including the use of her picture as a child. Talking Points has long asserted that the American press is essentially an arm of the left. This proves it. There's no doubt. So let's sum up. Any journalist colluding with a political campaign should resign immediately, be forced to resign. Period. And that's the memo. Now for the top story reaction, joining us from Hartford, Connecticut, Richard Hanley teaches journalism at Quinnipiac University. Here in New York City, Merrill Brown, who teaches media at Montclair State University in New Jersey. Your reaction, Professor Brown?
Well, I think we have to rank these things. Obviously, we can't condemn Haberman for being liked. We don't have any evidence she did anything even questionable. In the case of Harwood, though, I'm an ex-reporter, and you know yourself, Bill, you would be very uncomfortable giving advice to a campaign person or to any aide in any organizational situation. Journalists don't do that. I'm disappointed in Harwood, and that, to me, is the one that really stands out.
I think, Professor Hanley, that the New York Times, though, Leibovich is a big-time political reporter, perhaps their main guy. And it's a complicated situation, to be fair to this man. He went up to Bretton Woods in New Hampshire, and he sat down with Hillary Clinton off the record, and he had a long chat with her. Okay, and that's all right. I mean, right, so far he's okay, off the record chats. We do it all the time. But then he wants to use certain things out of that thing, so he runs it by the Clinton people. Well, can I use it? Number one, you shouldn't use anything off the record, okay? And number two, permission? Come on, it's outrageous. And the New York Times trying to justify it, by the way.
Bill, what Leibowitz did is against journalistic principles. You should never have a subject of your work decide what that work will contain, particularly a candidate for president. So I think that's not quite at a level where should he be fired. I don't know if I can say that, but it certainly is not a good practice, and it certainly is something that makes me
So if you're the editor of the New York Times, and I'm not trying to get anybody fired, but if you're the editor of the New York Times and your top political gun has been exposed in a secret email as having a deal with the Clinton administration, the Clinton campaign, you don't take any action?
I would take action, and
what would you do?
Perhaps I would think of pulling him off the beat, because what you've basically done, is set the groundwork with the Clinton campaign at this point, and perhaps the presidency in January begin to dictate terms of what you can and cannot cover, what you can and cannot say.
So you would pull him off. What would you do?
Well, Bill, put yourself in Leibowitz's shoes and think about what it was like to cover Hillary Clinton at that point in time. She was utterly inaccessible. She did very little on television. He's got to get to her. He's commissioned with an article. He takes an off-the-record meeting. He sees some good stuff in that off-the-record meeting. He tries to get it because she's really hard to pin down now, and even worse then. I think he did the best he could to try to get something out of a candidate for the presidency.
I disagree 100%. You cannot let your readers feel that this is a upfront interview and then make a backroom deal with her spokeswoman, not a spokeswoman, she's a campaign big shot. The way I would have handled it, though, is that I'd take the off-the-record meeting with Mrs. Clinton, okay? And then I would say to her, okay, look, I'm going to do an article. I'm not going to quote you, but I'm going to paraphrase your positions. And then I'm going to tell the reader that I am doing that. Wouldn't that be a better way?
That would absolutely be a better way.
That's the way you do journalism.
There are two choices there. We don't know what he would have done if they had said no. He might have done what you suggested.
But you can't do that because it's subterfuge. Trump, Mr. Hanley, said last night on this program that he's seen more piling on than any time in U.S. history. And I agree with him. I think this is the worst covered presidential race in American history, and I'm pretty good on this kind of stuff. I've never seen anything like this, the unbalance of the coverage. Am I wrong?
Well, Trump has certainly cultivated the ground for this coverage, by his remarks, his tweets,
that's
and
true,
being constantly in front of the news cycle.
But that's not an excuse for journalistic people to go after him harder than Mrs. Clinton, who certainly has her own problems.
Well, in this case, she is controlling the access, and as Professor Brown points out, access is all in covering politics.
No, it's not. I cover it every day, and I don't have access to her. She said she'd come on here, but she hasn't. But I can cover her. I can cover her through other people on a campaign. I can cover her through our reporters. I mean, come on. You don't have to give in to this kind of stuff.
Well, that's what I mean. That because reporters want access, they're more likely than not to try to get on the good side of a candidate.
That's okay. You can butter them up if you want. All right, I don't do it, but you can, and I don't mind that. But not in print. You've got to be honest in print. Now, I know I'm going to get letters that say certain people on the Fox News channel cozy up to Trump. Okay, but they're not reporters. All right, they're in the morning people or whatever, okay? And they have a perfect right as commentators or whatever they want to do. If you're a commentator, you can cozy up to anybody. You can do whatever you want. It's not the same standard. We're talking about hard news reporting here, and that's what's really troubling.
Well, there are many things to be troubled about. I would also make the argument that coverage of Trump has been belated, which is one of the reasons it feels so much, from your point of view, like it's piling up. We didn't read about his business practices and his tax situation until well into the campaign, in fact, after the convention. And I think we might have had a slightly different dynamic around the convention had we read more of this stuff beforehand.
Maybe, but that again is the responsibility of the hard news press to dig that out. And it's not easy to dig it out because Trump doesn't want his tax returns out.
Well, there's an enormous amount of public record stuff about his businesses and what he's done historically that should have been part of the primary discussion and not just the general election discussion.
Good debate, guys. I appreciate it. And we'll have more about the WikiLeaks hacking with Martha McCallum a bit later on. Next on the Rundown, Governor Mike Pence running hard with Donald Trump. He will be here. Then, later, Miller talking more politics. What could go wrong? Up ahead. Campaign 2016 segment tonight. New Fox News poll will come out tomorrow, and that will reflect the recent debate and the Access Hollywood fiasco. Joining us now from Salem, Virginia, where he's campaigning, the man running with Donald Trump, Governor Mike Pence. The governor Have you and Mr. Trump reconciled the Syria situation? In your debate, you said USA should immediately establish safe zones that would help refugees, but it also required troops to do that. Mr. Trump said in his debate he kind of disagrees with that. He'd concentrate on knocking out ISIS before dealing with the refugees. Where are you guys on Syria right now?
Well, you bet. We talked about it the next morning, and frankly, Martha Raddatz just mischaracterized my position. I mean, what I said in the debate was that Donald Trump and my position is that to deal with the crisis in Aleppo, where you've got hundreds of thousands of people in harm's way, including 100,000 kids, that you've got to establish safe zones with the international community. That's been Donald Trump's position long-standing. I did say that to secure those safe zones that we should be prepared to use military force if necessary to allow the people to evacuate Aleppo and to get to those safe areas. The way she presented it was as though I think, she conflated that with broader military action against the Assad regime. And that's not been Donald Trump's position.
I don't understand, and this is just an aside, why you guys don't do the NATO option and have NATO establish these safe zones rather than the USA carrying the whole thing.
Well, I think there's already a framework for international community to come together around safe zones. But what Donald Trump said is, we need to provide the humanitarian assistance, establish safe zones, but then go after ISIS.
But everybody
and focus
knows
on destroying ISIS at their source.
Right. Okay, but as you put out, there are kids dying right now. I'd like to see a little more urgency on the part of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Now, women. Yeah. I talked with Trump last night about women. You're going to lose the election if you can't convince more American women to vote for you. So I asked Trump, is there any strategy to target women? And I'm going to ask you that as well. In the campaign, you have to get more women to vote for you. Is there any strategy to do that right now?
Well, I think the strategy is just the message, Bill. I really do believe. I just finished up a rally here in Virginia, and you see the enormous crowds that come out for Donald Trump. There's women and men who are responding to his call that we've got to rebuild the military, we've got to stand tall in the world stage. Right. But honestly, more jobs, more opportunities, more school choice, ending the scourge of illegal immigration. I mean, you covered that more than anybody else.
You guys have been saying
this. The criminal aliens in our communities is a concern to women and men in America.
But here's the dilemma. You've been saying this since July in the convention, both of you, and the message has been pretty consistent. You're still way behind in the polls with women, and the Access Hollywood thing didn't help you. So I'm saying in the last 4 weeks of the campaign, are you going to make a special effort to get more women on board? And it seems like you're not. You're just going to have the same message. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying that I'm just asking to see if you have any breakout on women.
Well, I honestly believe that Donald Trump's message is much more than a slogan, Bill. It's that the people of this country know that for the last 7.5 years, under the leadership of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, we've weakened America's place in the world. We've retreated from the world stage. Our economy is struggling. We're walking away from our most cherished constitutional traditions. And as I'm campaigning across the country, I see as many women as I do men who are being drawn to that message.
Yeah, but
so we're going to continue to drive that and also draw the contrast on ethics between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. This avalanche of emails, Bill, is just astounding. Even revelations today that have come out that where now John Podesta apparently told a U.S. senator that he agreed that the Iranian deal was the worst deal since the 1940s.
Yeah, that's the gift that keeps on giving to you guys, that hacked email thing. I wanted to ask you about your peer, Senator Kaine. When you were debating Kaine, and I think you won the debate, and I said that here on The Factor. What was your measure of Kaine? How did you think he presented himself?
Well, honestly, when I got up from the table, I thought we pretty much gave as good as we got. But some people thought I won that debate. But honestly, I thought Donald Trump won the debate. I thought the ability for me to be there and make the case for Donald Trump's message, make the case for the choice in this election is really what carried
all right, so you're saying that your message was stronger. But Kaine's delivery...
I think the message was stronger.
Kaine's delivery was not as authoritative, maybe, than yours. He was a little more. He was trying to basically goad you or bait you into some of these things. I'm sure you knew that, right?
Yeah, well, sure. Well, it was kind of amusing to me to hear him say in the debate a couple of times that we were running an insult-driven campaign at the same time that he was going through a long, obviously memorized laundry list of insults and mischaracterizations of Donald Trump's positions. But, you know, for me, that night, my objective was really to draw the contrast between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, between really not just two candidates, but really two futures. And I was very humbled to be part of it.
You were ignoring him?
No, it was hard to ignore him after he interrupted me 72 times, but, you know,
yeah, he beat you by 30, wasn't it?
Debate like
71 to 40. You got him 40 times. All right, now.
Yeah, I wasn't counting, but I'll tell you, I thought it was a good, vigorous debate, and if we came away with people understanding how clear a choice this is,
it is a clear
I'm grateful
choice.
to have had the opportunity.
To be honest, and you know I always am, I mean, you're 7 points behind nationally. And tomorrow we'll tell the tale on the polling this week, because the new polls will come out reflecting the Access Hollywood thing and the debate.
Yeah, but
so
Bill,
you're 7 down.
Bill, I got to tell you something. Honestly and truly. Look, A, the only poll that matters is going to be finished on November the 8th. B, there's something going on in America right now. The people that you speak for with such a clarion voice, the people you so affectionately call the folks have had it with the direction of this country. They're tired of an America, you know, apologizing to our enemies, abandoning our friends. They're tired of a weak and listless economy. 156,000 jobs created in September, a 1% growth economy. People know we can do better.
Yeah,
and
well,
whatever
the polls show that too.
I got to tell you, this is a movement of the American people, and I wouldn't be the least bit surprised that what you saw happen in the primaries, where Donald Trump ended up overperforming the polling in state after state, didn't come around this fall when the American people show up and make their voice be heard and make him the next president.
We appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much. Directly ahead, my interview with Donald Trump last night caused a lot of discussion all over the world. We'll update you on what's going on. And later, Miller talking politics once again. Uh-oh. Factor's coming. Right back. Dr. Follow-up segment tonight. As you may know, we interviewed Donald Trump last night, and that chat's getting a lot of attention all over the world. Joining us from Washington, Jonathan Swan, who covers politics for The Hill. Here in New York City, Philip Bump, who covers politics for The Washington Post. I was a little bit surprised it got so much coverage. We've interviewed Trump here, you know, I would say close to 10 times since the convention. But this one really exploded. Why do you think that is?
I think in part it's because Donald Trump hasn't been doing a lot of interviews recently, right? I mean, he's sort of been a little more reserved. He hasn't had a press conference in several months now. And so I think that when he has an opportunity to sit down with someone and actually share his views, that's going to be something that gets attention.
Did anything in the interview jump out at you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when you asked him about women voters, I think that was probably one of the key things a lot of people focused on. And I don't think he had a very good answer. I mean, I think it's a key point that you raised, which is that he is struggling with that demographic. And I don't think he was able to present a way in which what he'd be doing moving forward was different.
Well, both Pence and Pence just said it too, Mr. Swan, that they're going to basically stay with the message that they have. Yeah. The country's going to hell, and women are obviously affected by that. They're not going to target women with any special commercials. Trump said it last night. Pence just said it 5 minutes ago. Do you think that's a good strategy?
Well, I thought it was striking. I mean, I watched both interviews, and you kept coming back to it. You said, you know, is there going to be a change in direction? This is the reality. These are the polls. And Donald Trump flat out said to you, I don't believe the polls.
No, they don't. They don't believe them.
I don't believe them. So,
and he could be right. He could be right about it.
He could be.
You know, it's possible. But if you do look at the data, and this data comes in from everywhere, not just the people who are rooting against Trump, he's winning with men big, Trump. And I expect that to hold. Yeah. Because men aren't, you know, I'm generally speaking, they didn't get involved like women got involved with this Access Hollywood thing. I mean, women went just furious all over the place, all kinds of women, conservative women, liberal women, they're just mad. But it looks like the Trump people are going to ride that out and just basically go on the message. Will that work?
A bit of this is bluster. And, you know, I talked to folks close to the Trump campaign and in the Trump campaign. They know how bad this is. And, you know, Donald Trump is getting advice now that just tone it down, stop attacking the Republican leadership, focus on Hillary Clinton.
Is that just advice from the last 3 hours? Because he worked them over last night on his program. And I told him, Mr. Bum, I said, look, if you're elected, you're going to need these guys. Right. You know, I mean, calling Senator McCain a foul mouth, whatever, that's not going to really help you. But that's Trump's style. It's slash and burn. I mean, it doesn't look like to me he moderates for a few hours and then he goes back to being Trump. But that has appeal. That has appeal.
It does have appeal, but what we've seen so far is it only has appeal to a certain percentage of the electorate. And one of the things he hasn't been able to do is expand that percentage outward. To your point around women voters, if he's going to do the same thing, we know how much of the women vote that gets him, and it is not enough to actually win this campaign.
If you believe the polls.
Sure, if you believe
the polls. They don't.
Right.
They say that they're going to overperform. You heard Pence.
Right.
We're going to overperform, and people are going to come out. There might be a little bit to that because, you know, in certain places, if you say you're a Trump supporter, you get shamed, you get banned socially, and it made a lot of people going, you know, I don't like her, so I'm just going to go with him. Do you see any of that?
I mean, it may be, and you know, the fact that they're not doing anything. Obviously, Donald Trump is not a traditional political candidate, right? And so he probably doesn't put as much faith in polls as someone like a Hillary Clinton
right.
does,
Unless the polls favor him.
Right, of course.
Then he loves them.
Of course. Which is not unusual for a politician.
No.
Right.
Mr. Swan, the vote that comes down is one more debate, and the second debate wasn't as widely watched as the first, even with all the Access Hollywood stuff. The third one will probably be the least watched. So at this point, it's just a matter of who's going to wear down first. And Hillary Clinton every day now has got the WikiLeaks thing. Every day is another embarrassment. Now it's open borders. Going to do a big thing about that tomorrow. So I think she's ahead, and I think the odds are she'll win. But I don't think Trump is out of it.
Well, Trump's strategy, their strategy now is to drive Hillary Clinton's favorables right down. I mean, she's already historically unpopular. So you're seeing these advertisements come out that are really tough. I mean, yesterday was her coughing and stumbling up the steps and falling into the car. And today, you know, very strong stuff on, you know, the corruption allegations and various others. So I think you're going to see them basically thermonuclear on Hillary, and then they're going to try and keep him disciplined, and whether he can or not, who knows. And then Steve Bannon, the CEO of the Trump campaign, his whole view is that Trump needs to go around the media to whatever extent he can do that, and talk directly to the American worker.
And I think that's a smart strategy, and then we'll see if there's any more October surprises. Gentlemen, thanks very much. We appreciate it. Plenty more ahead as a Factor moves along this evening. Martha MacCallum investigating charges that Putin trying to influence the American election. She'll have the latest. Also, we've been investigating the murder of 2 California police officers by a gang member. Awful situation out there. We'll tell you what we know, and we hope you stay tuned for those reports. Personal story segment tonight. Can the Trump-Pence ticket win back women? Earlier you heard what the governor said about that. Now let's turn to Monica Crowley and Ebony Williams who join us in New York City. I'm surprised, I really am, that the Trump campaign isn't targeting women with special commercials and ads and things like that, aren't you?
Yeah, I am actually a little bit, because among conservative and Republican women, Donald Trump is actually doing fine. But among women in the general electorate, not so much. He's running about a 20-point gender gap.
That's a lot.
And yeah, so we know the indelicate things he said about women. We just had a new release last week that cost his campaign a lot of heartache. He should, I think, be specifically talking to women.
Yeah,
and he can do that by talking about all of the issues are women's issues. But more specifically, he should be pointing to the wreckage of the Obama-Clinton economic record, because 3.7 million women have fallen into poverty over the last 8 years.
Yeah.
The female labor participation rate is the lowest it's been in 25 years. And for women, the median wage rate has actually dropped by over $700 a year.
There's plenty of stats.
If they can speak to women on those economic issues and say, I am the key to prosperity for you, he could actually get women to take a second look.
All right. Why do you think they're not doing it? Why? Because they both say, Pence and Trump both say that they don't have anything on the board.
And I think they're right to not do anything, Bill, actually.
Really?
I disagree with you and Monica. Yeah, because there's nothing that can be said. Now, there are women that already, Monica's messaging is spot on. They believe that Donald Trump is the only leader that can bring back economic prosperity, protect them from ISIS and the like. And guess what? They are already on the Trump train, Bill.
Are you telling me that a skilled propagandist, of which there are many in this country, paid very well, can't come up with a 30-second spot to target women to say, hey, look, we know what you've been told, but here's the guy that can really make your life better? You don't believe that a spot like that can be developed?
No, Bill, not in 28 days. Again, the women that would be compelling to, and I'm not saying that that's not a compelling message for many women in this country. I know them, but they have already bought into it. So there's nothing new at this point. Too much damage has been done.
In states like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, states that Trump's going to need to pick off 1 or 2 of those out west. Nevada, Arizona, Utah now is very close. I think that it can be done, and it's not that hard.
Right. I mean, look, the Trump campaign is making 1 million ads that are running on the web and television and radio. It costs them very little to make these kinds of targeted ads.
Don't even try.
And the truth is, it's not too late. I mean, I know the window is only 27 days from today, but there is still some running room for Donald Trump because he is not a traditional politician.
Okay, let me ask you about both. You first, Ebony. Among your female friends, is this Access Hollywood thing big? I mean, are they still chatting about it, or has this died down?
There's talk about it, but not in the way that politically matters, because they've already my friends have already decided what they think about Trump, for better or for worse.
They saw
That's already decided.
They decided.
It either confirmed their worst fears, or it did not move them, to Monica's point, because they still are sold on the fact that he's the best for the job.
Is there still chat about this, or is it ebbed?
It's, you know what, from the crowds that I'm hearing on social media.
No, your friends.
Americans,
I know you have
my
a few
friends.
friends.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends.
Many friends.
A lot of friends. You're nice.
I do. Yes, thank you.
Are they still talking about it?
No,
it's over?
Because what they understand is there's a choice for American people on November 8th about the future of the country.
Right. So
That's
this is now abated among the people that you guys
To
know.
them, it looks like a media and elite obsession to destroy Donald Trump.
Okay.
Nobody's supporting Donald Trump, Bill, because they think he's particularly gentleman-like. They believe he's a certain kind of leader, or they think he's the worst thing America's ever seen.
I would say
not much in the middle.
That's right. Okay, ladies, thank you.
Thank you.
We come right back. Martha McCallum investigating whether Putin's trying to undermine the U.S. presidential election. Martha is next. Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly in the Impact segment tonight. As we told you in the Talking Points memo, U.S. intelligence believes that Russia is behind the hacking of John Podesta's email and is actively trying to undermine the U.S. election. We asked Fox News anchor Martha McCallum to investigate further, and here she is. So what did you find out?
So on Friday, the United States government officially said that our intelligence officials had determined that, yes, indeed, it was Russia that was hacking into these emails. One of the things that it politically gives the people, Hillary Clinton and her aides and John Podesta, is cover to sort of throw everyone off the main issue of what's in the emails
they can deflect.
Say, we can't even discuss this. We don't even know if these things are real or not.
That's not working. This email thing is an everyday thing, and everybody's talking about it. But was the intelligence that the Homeland Security and was it DNI?
DNI, James Clapper, and Homeland Security.
Is that convinced? And then they said, well, it looks like their pattern.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I
think it's odd, frankly, that they suddenly made this determination that, yes, indeed, they could absolutely certify that it was Russia that was hacking in. It's been going on since the summer. John Podesta claims that it was Roger Stone who had,
he's a Republican, but that's
said that he has a connection to this.
If it is,
but no, it's very thin in terms of evidence of what links him. All they have said is that U.S. intelligence officials looked into it and determined that, yes, indeed, there was a link.
So the evidence that's been presented to we the people is thin that the Russians are doing it. I'm not saying they're not. I mean, Putin would do it, but we want an assessment of how strong the evidence is. Now, once the Russians start to do the WikiLeaks thing and start, or whoever's putting it out, it's a drip, 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 drip. What was the thing that caught your attention today? You and Hammer, you have that morning thing going on. Yeah. 2 hours you got to kill. Was there anything that... What caught your attention? You know,
one of the things that came out was Brian Fallon and his discussion with the DOJ. They sort of tipped him off that the judge was going to put out a schedule for when the emails had to come out.
Fallon is who? Tell the audience who Fallon is.
He's the spokeswoman for Hillary Clinton. He also used to be the spokesman for the Department of Justice.
Okay, so the DOJ tipped off Fallon, the spokesperson for Hillary Clinton, that something was coming down.
I mean, it's public information. It's sort of the overwhelming takeaway from all of this is that you get a sense for how closely tied all these people are. The agencies to each other, to the White House, to the Clinton Foundation. There's no smoking gun in these emails as of this moment.
Yet.
The most debilitating thing for Hillary Clinton was the open border statement that she made
doing that tomorrow.
since she's backed up TPP.
Okay, and they attacked the Catholic Church too. They said bad thing in his emails. Okay, now let's go out to Palm Springs. This is one of the worst things I've seen. 2 police officers killed by some thug. Allegedly, the thug did it. There they are. And the officer, Mr. Vega, he has like 8 children, right?
8 children.
And then the other lady is 27 or was 27 years old.
Leslie Zaremny.
So they both enter. They answer a domestic call, and then who's this guy? I mean, what?
His name is John Felix. It was a domestic dispute. It was his family that lived in the house. They encouraged him to come outside. These 2 police officers were outside. He started shooting round after round.
Just opened up on him?
Automatic. Yep. Right through the door and killed both of these individuals. And neither one of them was even supposed to be working that day. Leslie Zarebny is 27 years old. She's on maternity leave, has a 4-month-old baby, and she came in to help out. Officer Vega was about to retire in December. He has 8 children and 35 years on the force.
Now, the guy who is in custody, they caught this guy, Felix, and he's a bad guy, right? Long rap sheet. Is he a gang member?
Well, he has a long rap sheet that shows that he was convicted of assault with a deadly weapon back in 2010. No indication that he's tied to a gang. He could be. However, the news that just came out this afternoon is that they have put murder charges for him, and that murder charge is first-degree murder of police officers, 2 police officers, and it does carry the death penalty.
And the beef that he got convicted of, he served less than 2 years in the California penitentiary, right?
Yeah.
And this is it. I mean, they don't punish people, and they're out, and this is what happens.
And he wasn't supposed to have a weapon either, because he was on parole.
Of course. Yeah. But these thugs are going to do what they want.
Exactly.
Martha, thank you. Miller is on deck. He's talking politics again. Then a very strange situation involving my book, Killing the Rising Sun. Moments away. Back in the book segment tonight, as we reported last week, Dennis Miller is in South Africa. We haven't heard from him lately. We hope he hasn't been eaten by a lion. But before he left, Miller had lots to say about politics. Did that picture frighten you, Miller?
Yeah, the guy with the bad toupee in the background. That's scaring the living hell out of me. Billy, good to see you, by the way. It's been a few weeks, my friend. I missed you. Hold me.
Why are you holding my hand?
Listen, Obama giving you stink eye is like Barney Fife telling you he's got a bullet in his shirt pocket.
Come on, cut it out.
To me, Putin and Obama are playing Risk, and Obama gets up in his dad jeans and leaves the room. Putin just keeps playing while Obama's out of the room. Then Obama comes back in and says, hey, did you take Crimea? Yes, I took Crimea.
Win the game, and you win the world.
You know what I liked about the picture? It looks like Putin is one of the munchkins on The Wizard of Oz. He's a very, very tiny guy.
We represent the Lollipop Guild.
All right, now, people voting. Do you think they're going to show up in November, or are a lot of people going to stay home because they don't like either candidate?
I think I'm going to vote because of allegiance to the troops. When kids put their life on the line for you, I think you got to get out and vote. Do I think there's any point to it anymore? No. I've told you, Bill, I think it happened already. When you look at the list, IRS audits against people they disagree with, deals with Iran where they get billions and billions of dollars, Bibi Netanyahu turned away at the White House and Black Lives Matter get into the White House for meetings, sanctuary cities, Obamacare pushed through, no border. I don't want to sound like Deep Throat in the Garage, Billy, but do you really think this is all the work of little Donnie Segretti?
Can you tell me what you know? You tell me what you know.
I think there's been a coup. I think it's happened. I don't know who the next president is, but I don't think they're going to be able to undo what's been done already.
All right, but Trump says he would. In all of those things you mentioned, Trump's on, I guess, your side of the equation.
Well, I think my side is just pretty much common sense. I look at Hillary, who now is coughing more than Betty Davis with esophageal reflux in a Welsh coal mine, and nobody's vetting her. 270 days without a presser. The press is in her back pocket. Benghazi, 30,000 scrubbed emails. It happened, man. There's been a weird takeover. There's a liaison, an unholy one, between most of the media and Hillary Clinton. I think whatever happened is going to happen. I came in to see Hamilton.
Yes.
But then I hear George has a bad sunburn. He couldn't go on, so they're doing some sort of a historical musical.
And the world's gonna know your name. What's your name, man?
Alexander Hamilton.
Alexander, not George Hamilton. Now let's shift gears. Miller, you might not know, big fan of Dick Van Dyke and his many things.
Well, here we have a clip.
Dick Van Dyke went to Denny's, and this happened.
Really?
Chitty bang bang, chitty bang bang, chitty bang bang. Oh, you pretty chitty bang bang, chitty bang bang. We love you.
All right, that was impressive at Denny's, right? The super breakfast and Dick Van Dyke.
Yeah, imagine you're stoned out of your mind coming in for some hash
browns.
Yeah, hash browns.
I'm just really high.
Here's the most ironic part, Billy. Right. You know who's replacing George Hamilton in that thing tonight? Jerry Van Dyke.
I gave Miller a copy, advanced copy, of Killing the Rising Sun because Miller, you may know, is very interested in history. What say you?
There is a book in the Factor store they call The Rising Sun. Billy, to me, the best of the Killing books. I like the way the books are paced. It's like Mickey Spillane meets Pliny the Elder. And, you know, if Truman, who was a Democrat, was alive today, he would be gang audited by his own party.
Yeah.
And when I think about FDR putting 120,000 or 200,000, I can't remember the figure, people in internment camps, it makes me laugh when they point at Trump and say he's Hitler, and they point at FDR and say that he's a god amidst man.
Amen, Miller. Dennis Miller, everybody. And Miller will be back next week. You have been warned. Back to Tip of the Day, strange doings about killing the rising sun. The tip, moments away. Back to Tip of the Day, something very weird going on concerning my book, Killing the Rising Sun, in a moment. But first, one of the best promotions we've ever had on BillO'Reilly.com. In honor of the movie Killing Reagan debuting this coming Sunday, 8 p.m. on the National Geographic Network, we're giving everybody 25% off if you buy Reagan and Killing the Rising Sun together. Also, if you become a BillO'Reilly.com premium member or re-up your membership, you get any one of my books free of charge or the just-released DVD of Legends and Lies of Patriots. So please remember, all the money I get from BillO'Reilly.com is donated to charity. We made a nice donation to the Haitian Health Fund this week to help the poor folks down there. Charity's address is posted on the website. Now, the mail. Jack Conlon, Marshfield, Massachusetts. Why aren't high-ranking Democrats backing away from Hillary the way Republicans are with Trump? Because they think Secretary Clinton will win, Jack. By the way, we have an interesting BillO'Reilly.com poll question for you. If the election were held this week, who would win, Trump or Clinton? Okay. Give you the results tomorrow on that. Daniel Compton, Lake Havasu City, Arizona. It really bothered me how Trump totally disrespected you, O'Reilly. He just gave me a little jazz. Dan, come on. If I do it, and I do, I have to take it. And it was good-natured. It was no problem. John Healy, Ogden, Utah. Bill, it's fun to watch you fold like a rag doll when interviewing Trump. Randy Davis, British Columbia, Canada. O'Reilly, you are assuming the role of a Clinton protector by asking Trump very tough questions. I got to get those tough questions in before I fold, Randy. Katie Barnett, Great Neck, New York. Bill, please stop giving Trump a platform. So let me get this straight, Katie. When I get an exclusive interview with the Republican nominee for president, I should pass. Kyle, withholding his last name, Walnut Creek, California. I am a college student, and if I showed outward support for Trump, my professors would hold it against me. Is that normal? Sadly, in the country right now, Kyle, it is. I got to say this name correctly. Ready? João. Did I get it? Fonseca. João Fonseca, Lisbon, Portugal. I hope I got it right, João. Mr. O, just bought my 4th Killing book and watched The Factor every night. It would be great if you came here. Love Portugal, João. In fact, I rode a motorcycle completely around your entire coastline, ending in the Algarve. Terrific place. Finally, tonight, fact tip of the day, there's an organization called BookScan that tracks book sales all across the USA. Today, the numbers came in for this week. Killing the Rising Sun, #1 nonfiction book on BookScan. Yet, the only newspaper in the country, the only one that's reviewed Rising Sun is USA Today. No other paper, as far as we know, has reviewed what may very well be the best-selling nonfiction book of the year. Now, is that an accident? You tell me. Wait, I'll tell you. It's not. Many newspaper editors are simply horrified that a barbarian like me, your humble correspondent, am now the best-selling nonfiction author in the world. And you know what? I can't do anything about their horrification. Is that a word? So here's the fact and tip of the day. When you can't solve a problem, accept it. However, let the folks know what's going on. Yes, you might be called a whiner, but getting the truth out there is more important, is it not? And that is it for us tonight. Please check out the Fox News Factor website, different from BillO'Reilly.com. Also, we would like you to spout off about the factor from anywhere in the world. O'Reilly at FoxNews.com. O'Reilly at FoxNews.com. Name in town, name in town, name in town. If you wish to opine. Word of the day, no chimera. Ooh, it's another good one. No chimera when we're writing to the factor tomorrow. Looking into this open border comment Hillary Clinton made on the WikiLeaks exposure, and we'll have something on that for you. Again, thanks for watching us tonight. I'm Bill O'Reilly. Please always remember that the spin stops here, so we're definitely looking out for you.